Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise because I've heard from the proponents of this bill, from the authors of this bill, that this is somehow about fixing census numbers, somehow exclusively about partisanship. It's about fixing unconstitutional maps. But with every pretextual explanation, oftentimes contradictory explanations, I come back to a simple premise. And I'm going to speak as the former chair of the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus, the oldest and largest Latino legislative caucus in America, and just point out that the Latino community, by any metric, by any standard that you can apply to any map, is already underrepresented in the state of Texas today. It would be hard by any measure to quarrel with that. Very, very difficult. We represent over 40% of the population of the state, was responsible for 50% of all the growth in this state, and yet you have to try really, really hard in this map to set our community back because we're already underrepresented. You have to be intentional in the face of all the growth and all the numbers and all the data. You must be intentional. You have to try really, really hard to have us enjoy less representation than we already do under this map. If you apply the numbers, this map furnishes maybe 4 or 5 districts where the Latino community can elect candidates of their choice. Okay? If you apply math to that and a percentage, that 4 or 5 out of 38 comes out to about 10.5% to about 13%. Again, even though we represented 50% of all the growth in this state and are now the largest plurality population in the state of Texas. So to only say that Latinos are going to get between 10 and 13% of the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice under this current map explains to me that you had to try really, really hard. You had to be intentional about this lack of representation. And we can go through the individual places. In Tarrant County, it's been discussed, where nearly 1 in 3 people is Latino, and yet this map dismantles their only chance at representation. Gone. In Dallas County, where over 1 million Latinos, and side note, more Latinos in North Texas than even South Texas, where we have waited for more than a decade to have the opportunity to elect a Dallas County neighbor of our choice, this map denies us again. In Houston, Representatives Wale, Perez, and Hernandez talked about the longstanding Latino neighborhoods that are systematically and intentionally packed and cracked, tying working class families to faraway suburbs that share nothing in common. In San Antonio, representatives have told you that a performing 60+% Latino congressional seat just disappears. It's gone. Poof. With no explanation. So this map is not democratic. It is not representative. Instead, let's just call it what it is. It is a deliberate, intentional, racial gerrymander. And the numbers don't lie. And colleagues, as has been pointed out to you over and over and over again, so much so that it must be seared into your brain, what is being attempted today is not new. What is being done to our communities today is not new, because every decade since the 1970s, this legislature, whether it was Dixiecrats or Democrats or Republicans, has discriminated against people of color. Every decade. And when we think about those people who came before us, we wonder, wow, what were they like? What were those people like who could look at the African American, Asian, Latino people on this House floor and say, you deserve less representation. I'm going to look you in the eye and tell you, you deserve less representation. And I'm going to be intentional about that. What were those people like? So just ask yourselves, and ask yourselves if you want to add your name to that list of people who looked at these communities of color, at their colleagues in the eye and said, no, you deserve less representation. Y para el pueblo que esté aquí o que está mirando en la televisión, voy a ofrecer unos comentarios en español para que todo el mundo sea incluido en este debate. Porque es claro y sabemos que la única manera que nuestra comunidad hispana va a llegar de donde estamos, bajo representados, a dónde queremos ir, es con representación. Es con representación. And if representation wasn't so important, if it wasn't so important, why are people willing to break the law and discriminate intentionally to take your representation from you? So, members, when Representative Bernal said that oftentimes this majority tells us, well, we know better than you, it is in fact the case here, where you are saying to people all over this state, no. See that congressperson that we gave you last time? That representation that you had last time? We know better today what you need. We know better today what people in Dallas or Houston or Austin or San Antonio need. We, the government, we, the politicians in Austin who have never been to your community, are going to tell you emphatically the representation you deserve today. And we're just gonna do it. And I thought about things, I've spoken a lot about the Latino community, but this is really about all Texans. I love living in a Texas that is diverse, that is growing, that is vibrant, and our representation needs to reflect that. This map does not reflect that, and you have to try hard. You have to be deliberate, and you have to be intentional in your efforts not to reflect to the diversity of this state. But members, it's not too late. You can vote no on this bill. You can say Texas is not going to go down this path. We are going to have a map that reflects the diversity of this state, the people of this state, the representation that people want in this state. Or you can add your names to that sullied list that has existed for decades and wonder about what those people were like. You need only look in the mirror. Thank you.